befinden uns hier im Dialog im Dunkeln, eine Ausstellung, in der sehende Menschen einmal einen Einblick bekommen können, wie es sich anfühlen könnte, Alltagssituationen einmal aus der Sicht eines Blinden zu erleben. Diese Ausstellung gibt es nicht nur in Deutschland, sondern auch in anderen Nationen, und zurzeit findet hier in Hamburg das internationale Meeting statt, wo viele Mitarbeiter verschiedenster Dialog im Dunkeln Ausstellungen zusammenkommen, um sich einmal ein wenig auszutauschen, an Workshops und Seminaren teilzunehmen. Und wir nutzen diese einmalige Gelegenheit, um verschiedene blinde Menschen aus verschiedenen Ländern einmal kennenzulernen und etwas über ihre Alltags- und Lebenssituation als Blinder in ihrem Land zu erfahren. Und unsere Reise bringt uns jetzt nach Shanghai. Okay, welcome and thank you very much for the interview. Would you please introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is, English name is Francis, and my Chinese name is Dunkeln. I'm from Shanghai, China, and I'm the facilitator of Dialog in the Dark in Shanghai for the workshop, business workshop, and about for nearly 4 years. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, what can you see, and have you been blind since birth?
Not. I lost my eyesight since the age of 7, but at that time I had little eyesight. It get worse and worse, and about 15, I think I lost almost all the sight, and then I go to blind school. Yeah.
Okay. And how did your parents and family deal with your blindness?
Yeah, at the very first, they cannot accept it. My vision, my eyesight is got worse and worse gradually. So at the first beginning, they just think that I'm just the same as other sighted students, because I studied in common school, but just with some magnetized device to help me to study. But after I lost this eyesight several years later, then they got so disappointed and so hopeless, and they began to find some new ways, some new places to accept me. Eventually, of course, we found the school for the blind, and I went to school. Then gradually they accept the reality. Yeah.
Okay. How does the supply of technical or other aids for the blind and visually impaired look like in your country?
You mean the digital devices?
Not only digital, also devices like white canes and something like that.
Okay. Yeah, we have such very common device, white cane, also computers with the screen readers, others like braille board, braille ruler, and braille pen in the school for the blind. Also other braille books, but actually, except the schools, it's hardly to get enough good devices in the public. There are very few books in braille in the library, in the public library, and also I think those digital devices like the braille display is very, very expensive in China, and the government will not help us to provide us such devices. Yeah, it's hardly to get such things. Yeah.
Are there any subsidies for the blind and for the ads?
Yes, of course we have some, but that depends on the cities. China is so big a country, and different cities have different policies of the subsidies for the blind, for the disabled people. And maybe in Shanghai it's better, and we will have some money from the government per month, but very little. And yes, they also sometimes will offer us some devices like a talking watch or webcam, but not so often. And if we want to improve our life, our study, our work, we have to buy them by ourselves.
In your home country, is there something similar to the mobility training in Germany, in which a special trainer shows blind people how to use a white cane?
Yeah, we have such training in the school for the blind, and also if you are lost your eyesight in a very older age, you have no opportunity to go to the school for the blind, then you can also ask for help, ask for aid from the community, from the association for the blind, and they also provide such mobility or orientation trainings for the blind. But sometimes I don't think it's very practical, because most of the blind, they go out by themselves. They just depend on themselves and by their experience. I think that's more important.
How do sighted people in Shanghai, for example, treat the visually impaired or blind? Are they rather helpful, easygoing, or rather reserved, or do they even behave in an unfriendly manner?
Yeah, I think it's not so bad in Shanghai. The same thing, because different cities have different situation. And in Shanghai, I think most of the citizens are friendly to the blind. But the very serious problem is that they don't know how to help the blind. And sometimes they, on the street, they see a blind person, then they just come to him and just hold his cane, then just go very fast. Then say, "I'll help you. Don't worry about it. I'll help you," just like that. But actually, sometimes they do it in the wrong way, and we have to tell them how to do it correctly. Yeah, so that's, I think, their attitude is good, but they actually don't have any such knowledge or skills to help. Yeah.
Do you think that the visually impaired in your country are well integrated into society, or are there situations in which you feel restricted?
I don't think so. I don't think they can be integrated to the society so smoothly, because most of the time we are just separated in an isolated place, like the school for the blind, and we don't have so many schools that common schools which can accept a blind, and also the blind in China, most of them do the job of massage, and they work in a very limited space, a massage store, to give such a service, and all the staff there, most of them are just visually impaired or blind, so they have so limited space to communicate with the sighted people, and I think that's the most problem.
Are things like public transportation or universities in your country accessible?
Hope so, but actually not so good enough. And for example, for the university, we also have several universities in Shanghai that can accept the blind as their students, but just a limited department. I mean, the major is so limited. we have only 3 universities, and each of them only has one major for the blind. So, and in the university, most of the students, yeah, they are friendly to the blind, but also they don't know what we really need. Sometimes, most of the time, we just our blind students just kill our times in a special classroom just for the blind. We call it resource classroom. We have computers with screen readers there, and also others like braille printing or such like that in the resource room. So, but we have very few opportunities to take part in the different activities in the university, and I don't think that's so. That's good for us. That's not that's too bad. And also for the transportation system, I think yeah, I prefer the subway in Shanghai. It's much convenient and also safe. But buses are not always so security, and since in one bus station there are too many different buses, but our blind don't know which one is it, which one should I get on. So it's troubles a lot. But for the subway system, it will be better. But another problem for the subway system is that we have so many different lines in Shanghai, and many stations will have there are 2 or more lines in one station. Then it's very difficult for us to transfer from one line to another line. Yeah, it's really hard for us. Yes.
Last question. What would you wish for the future of your country regarding integration or inclusion? Is there anything what to change?
Yeah, of course, I hope it will be changed a lot in the future, especially in inclusion, no matter in school or in companies or in communities. Because in China, more and more people began to take notice, to take attention to the blind, but most of them just regard the blind as another group of people. They don't think they are the same as them. But actually, the blind is just the same as them, except the eyesight. So, but it's really hard to let them know this. It's hard to let them understand it. I think the period nowadays is just they thought they have to protect us, they have to help us, but not they don't want to cooperate with us. They don't want to include us into their community. Yeah, I hope it will be changed in the near future.
Ping Zhang, thank you very much for the interview.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure.
Meine Lieben, wenn ihr dieses Interview einmal auf Deutsch nachlesen wollt, so findet ihr diese und unsere anderen Interviews in Kürze auch in unseren Blogs unter blindlife.de und auch auf christian-ohrens.de und alle weiteren Video-Interviews natürlich in unseren YouTube-Channels.